Good morning, everyone. It is early here in Phoenix, Arizona at the Super Bowl. And I have the incredible Blaine Bartlett, BlaineBartlett.com. And I was just telling Blaine, we learned good morning. We learned so much about people when we take them on the road and put pressure into a situation. What seems simple doesn't get done all the time. But Blaine, I know Paul's going to be joining us. I sat down with Bob Parsons, who's an incredible entrepreneur, founder, for those who don't know, of GoDaddy. And I just have to run this by you because it was just probably one of the more powerful nuggets that I've gotten from the incredible mentors like you, just sharing during an interview. And what I thought was going to be the normal line of an entrepreneur turned into something that I'm sure will result in hundreds of hours of research. So here it goes. We were talking about learning to love what you do. And he said, well, you know, Dave, if you love what you do, and I thought for sure it was going to be, you'll never work another day in your life, which, you know, we probably have heard more than other. But instead he said, if you love what you do, it will tell you all of its secrets.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, that's going to be the quote on the newsletter, right, Mike? We're going to put that as the quote on the newsletter. And I've never been able to articulate why being more interested than interesting is, and the subtleties of success in the unraveling or unpeeling of an onion. But those who reach layers and levels of success, they learn to love what they do or love what they do, and then it tells you all of its secrets, and everyone ends up calling you a genius. So speaking of geniuses, someone whose expression of God is getting stronger and wider and clearer is one of my faves here. Industry that is, you know, unbelievably transforming. I remember the last car that I bought. We have Paul Daly here. I think they had a dot matrix printer. And I said, how is it I'm buying a car how is it I'm buying a car that can drive itself, and you're printing out my finance agreement on a matrix printer? Something's the matter with this industry. I'm not getting it. But this guy, he's a disruptor. Right, he wants to change things around. No more dot matrix printers for you in the car industry. He's the founder of the Automotive State of the Union. They do incredible events and empower an entire industry, educating and inspiring and empowering. Founder and CEO and creative director of Congruent as well, congruentstory.com. He is a personality, a brand. The incredible Paul Daly. Welcome to Office Hours.
Hey, with an intro like that in the morning, I'm going to show up more often.
Please do, man. And with a beard like that, you're always welcome. You are so cool.
There you go.
Anyway, Paul, you know, obviously the automotive industry was in need for a facelift, to say the very least. And you were leading the way, and in a no BS way as well. You know, what were some of the things that you saw in the industry that really motivated you to create ASOTU, which is the Automotive State of the Union?
You know, I think primarily it was the fact that I got to work in the industry. I've been in the industry for the last 20 years, started as a service advisor. I built a regional reconditioning company that just made cars look better for used car dealers. But we serviced about 50,000 cars a year, and it ended up being acquired by a larger company. And during that process, I got to just be in hundreds of dealerships every year, and I saw the amazing cultures that existed in a lot of them and the amazing leadership that existed. And there was just such a contrast in what I knew as the auto industry and what the stigma in the public was. And I just was like, we need to know, like, we need to bridge that gap, because, you know, just like if you eat at a restaurant, have a bad experience, you tell 10 people. If you have a great experience, you probably don't even tell one. I feel like systemically, that's what the auto industry is today. Granted, a lot of the stigma's earned, you know, over the years, but it is such a different place that I just felt like, you know, my kids have grown up knowing a lot of dealers and managers and great, amazing people and families in the industry. And if my kids were ever in trouble, like in a place they didn't know, and they saw a dealership, they would go there assuming there were great, kind, giving people that would help them. And I was just like, I can't be okay with that existing. So Automotive State of the Union is just my effort that kind of rose out of COVID, to bring the industry together and to start to elevate the culture and perception of the industry overall.
I'm struck by the founding belief, if you will, of the Automotive State of the Union, ASOTU. When dealers band together, no crisis can win. I've got a hunch the answer to this, but how do you see that in practice? Because you actually did do some really amazing things in the midst of what was just an upside down world in the last couple of years here, particularly in this industry, in this market sector. How did you begin to leverage that so that you were actually making the difference, having the impact that you wanted to make?
I think like all great, like all great ideas are all fresh ideas. They come out of some level of need. And so when COVID happened, there were lockdowns very much managed state by state. So dealers were in various, there could be a dealer who was locked down, couldn't go to work. And then 3 miles away, there could be a dealer who was open and fully functional. And so there's just great disparity and uncertainty in the country as a whole. And automotive is just so central to what we are as a society. You have big businesses with lots of people and lots of moving parts, and no one knew what to do. So it was, when I was on Zoom calls with dealers and groups all across the country, people seemed to feel better, like we all did when we were with some peers, and say, what are you seeing? How are you feeling? How are you handling it? And so I just said, let me try to scale that with what I know how to do, which is media and live stream. And we had a live stream. I named it Automotive State of the Union. It was actually right around this time of year, right? So the State of the Union address was a thing. And I was like, well, let's make it sound really official so people think it's a thing, And so I designed the logo, and so thousands and thousands of people showed up, and like my branding and messaging mind said, like, what can be the rally cry? And I had written a book called the Automotive Manifesto about brand connection in retail automotive. And I opened the book with this big list of what dealers and the auto industry has basically persevered throughout the last 100 years, and fires and floods and scandals and shortages and fuel shortages and wars and all these things. And I went down the list, and I was like, this is just another page in that book. And so that's where the no crisis can win came from. I was like, that's the rally cry, right? And when dealers have banded together and said, hey, we have amazing leverage and amazing kind of fellowship within our business, we are attached to the communities. And if we just kind of unify, like, we can get through everything. And so that was kind of the thing, and people latched onto it, and they believe it, and they know it's true already. It just, like any great brand or any good messaging, like that unifying thing, those few words that people can just nod their head and be like, yeah, that's actually how I feel.
And one thing in participating with you, your organization, your community, is it felt as if you built a locker room, a winning locker room. And what I mean by that is, from your podcast, which is Clarity Compressed, where you are compressing the values by bringing everybody together and utilizing people from inside and outside the industry to work on perspective and personal growth and mindset and motivation, things that most people, when they think of the automobile industry, are not synergistic with, thinking that doesn't sound like the atypical or stereotypical person who works in the automobile industry. But when I talk about this locker room, all winning teams are self-regulated. The coach does not have to work on perspective, personal growth, mindset, and motivation. It's the leaders in the locker room. And Paul Daly, you seem to be a leader in that locker room. And I felt as if through the compressed clarity that was created by people on the stages, the podcast, the community and conversations that were taking place, that it became self-regulated, and that people, instead of feeling that, they're cavalier and maverick, that, I can post one price and, have you come in and then say, oh, by the way, the clear quotes, we got these $2,500 of hidden costs that we can't take off the car, and you spent all this time talking to me. And it was, a retro back to 50 years ago before companies came out and said, hey, here's flat rate pricing, because we know people don't mind paying margins, but they hate being lied to, manipulated, cheated, oversold, and back end sold. How much is there a locker room now because of ASOTU, because of the content, because of the podcast, of self-regulation, where, you know, other dealers are like, dude, don't do that. You're making us all look bad.
I love the way you put it that way, especially because, you know, I think are you in Arizona right now?
Yeah, I'm at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I'm a huge lifelong Eagles fan, right? So that locker room mentality and seeing that kind of come to play, like, yeah, that's what I'm talking. Go Birds. That locker room mentality. I love the way you put it that way. You know, saying they're self-regulated. You know, Seth Godin, the marketing genius. You know, he kind of boils down like brand and community to a simple statement. It says people like us do things like this, and I think that really does. That is the environment that is created now. If I you know, I kind of been the Pied Piper for the last several years and brought in my business partner Kyle, and we kind of you know, really propagate the message, but like if we stepped out, like that mentality still exists. And so yeah, I love that you pick that up when you're there, because just like anything, when you normalize a certain mindset or behavior, it doesn't become difficult to do anymore. It just becomes the normal way you operate. Like I think of Olympic athletes, and they do crazy things from the outside. They wake up at crazy hours. They're incredibly disciplined with what they put in their body, right. And so everyone else will call them crazy, but to another Olympic athlete, they're like, oh yeah. So we're going to do this and then this and then this. Like they normalize that exceptional behavior to where it doesn't become challenging. I mean, it's still hard work, but it doesn't become challenging from a mindset and culture position. So I love that was what you picked up.
It doesn't become the exception. It doesn't become the exception. It becomes the norm. Right. That's why we call it exceptional. All things take effort. Progress is created by those behaviors. So that's exactly the feeling that I got from ASOTU. Blaine, want to land the plane?
Yeah, I'm the normalizing the exceptional. I've done a lot of work in culture development in large organizations around the world for years, and I've never heard anybody actually position it like this. Yeah, this is what people like us do. Yeah, people like us do these things. Normalizing that exception. In your podcast, Clarity Compressed, thematically, where do you actually land that particular notion, with the guests that you have? Because you've got a pretty good lineup of guests there, and this is moving away from the actual conversation around the auto.
No, it's fine.
But just more generally here, Clarity Compressed, and I like the title of the podcast, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So, Clarity Compressed is like my personal expression. And, I've got on like 260 episodes I've done every week for the last 260 weeks. And then, the automotive stuff, I have a daily podcast that I do. It's automotive. So the personal thing drives, obviously, personal mindset is what drives everything else I do. The perspective of it. I mean, the word clarity came to me the first time I ever met Claude Silver, Gary Vaynerchuk's chief of staff. I was in her office. She took a 10-minute meeting with me. An hour and a half later, I walked out of her office, as is typical. And she said, I think you really enjoy what you just said to me. I don't know if you heard yourself say it, which is what she always does, but you said you enjoy the moment where people kind of have clarity on what it is they're actually trying to do. Right. And so with the Clarity Compressed podcast, I define clarity as just simply perspective. And I use the example all the time of the mall. You walk into the mall, you look for the Apple store on the map, and there it is. It's in like C86 or whatever block it's in. But you can't get there unless you have the little "you are here," right? You have no idea what to turn, what to go. So clarity is basically the "you are here" point on the map. And I just define it as perspective. So I just try to share things and get people to open their minds, to give them perspective. Oh, that's where I actually am. That's the way I'm actually oriented. And I have guests and topics that try to just give people a little ounce of perspective, because sometimes it just takes that little piece for you to realize, like, oh, I'm just 6 degrees off. That's why I'm here. I'm actually here. So let me orient in that way.
It's amazing, man. Every single industry, every single leader in every single industry, as we'll see today, is getting a common thread, a vertebrae of mindset, heart set, and handset. regardless of the inflection points, defining moments, and reputation and brand of the past. And these communities, these micro communities, are certainly sharing their secrets as we learn to love what we do with compressed clarity. Paul J. Daly, pauljddaly.com. Please check out ASOTU and give the automobile industry a second chance. Thank you so much, my buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
It was a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Paul,
Go
love having
Eagles.
you on the show. Absolutely.
Go
I want to
Eagles.
get you back.
Thank you. Anytime. Go Birds.
Go Birds. See you later.
Bird.
All right. Speaking of industries, every industry, I talk about the meaning we give the past and the meaning and defining moments that we give, inflection points, historical references. And if you think the automobile industry has a certain brand as a whole based on personal experiences and amplified by positive and negative experiences or perceptions, plastic surgery is also one of those industries. And yet it has attracted some of the greatest doctors in the world. And we have one here. Dr. Hardik Doshi is a double board certified facial plastic surgeon. And he is also an Ivy Leaguer as well. But that chip on my shoulder, Blaine, I won't pick on him for that. But more importantly, I've transitioned my opinion of the automobile industry because of people like Paul Daly, and I've also done the same thing with plastic surgeons. I remember early on, when I say, why would anybody ever do, get a nose job? And I make jokes about myself in two ways. I always say, I don't have a big nose, I have a small face, or even better, most plastic surgeons really suck up to me, Blaine. And let me tell you why. Because if they don't do a good job on someone that I refer to them, I threaten them all the time. I said, I will go around Newport Beach and I will tell everyone that you did my nose. And I'm sure that's, probably as equally bad as somebody getting misled or miscommunicated with in the automobile industry. So more importantly, welcome to Office Hours, Dr. Doshi.
Thank you for having me, David. And nice meeting you, Blaine. Thanks for having me.
You as well. You as well.
It's one thing on the scientific side of being, an incredible reconstructive doctor, but, I have had experience of the emotional side of, we don't give credit where it's due, that when somebody's insecure about something and we can make it better, and some of them are natural and some are injury based, or, a calamity has happened, it can change life. As much as we don't want to admit it, that if someone is insecure and doesn't feel good about the way they look, if we can make them feel good about the way they look, so many amazing things have happened. And you have done, over 4,000 of these surgical procedures in a cosmetic way, and as an injury needed, a necessity, not an elective way. But through your experience, can you share how important it is for someone to feel good about the way they look?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's at the forefront of what I do. There's this phenomenon that we all experience. It's called the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect says the following: that we see our imperfections and we project it onto others. AKA, for example, David, you talk about your nose. You have a great nose, by the way. There's nothing wrong with it. But I always say is that when we're concerned about something, we see it in every single other person. The same concept is, if you're looking for a red car, you see a red car everywhere, right? So our insecurity starts to manifest and it starts to take over our lives. And I tell people that 90% of my job is to highlight your intrinsic beauty. You're coming to me and I need to show you how you're already beautiful. There's not a lot of things I need to change. And in fact, there's something that may have occurred along their path of life that made them feel a certain way. With that being said, of course, if you had a trauma, earlier in my career, I used to be a cancer surgeon. So I used to take out cancers and then I used to reconstruct it. That's how I got into this whole thing. And I realized that, kind of taking away the cancer and then giving back someone the way they look is very profound and powerful, because you're removing that idea of what they went through, which is cancer. That's a life-changing event. And then with our face, because I'm a facial plastic surgeon, We look at ourselves every single day. The average person, they say, looks at themselves between 7 to 10 times a day. So that's 7 to 10 times you're reminding yourself who you are by just looking in the mirror. So if you can impact that in, I think a very profound and significant way, it's life-changing. So I've been privileged enough to be a part of that and done all these surgeries for these individuals that have given me the privilege of taking care of them.
I'm, philosophically, there's a whole notion that, anything that I can observe by definition, I am not. That greater I am not whatever it is that I see out there. So I'm not my body. I'm not my hand. I can observe them. And so there's this collapsing of identity that occurs pretty early on in our development. The work that you do, and I'm going to kind of couple of things here, Dr. Doshi. One of my favorite philosophers, a fellow by the name of Thomas Troward, talks about being able to see beauty. And when you're actually seeing beauty in something, you're seeing the spirit that actually informs it, that gives it life. And that's what the body is for me. It's, it's the life that the spirit has given me. It moves to and through me. In the conversations that you have with your patients in saying, okay, there is beauty everywhere, and I'm going to focus this. What awakening, if any, and this is kind of, what awakening do you see in them where they begin to let go of an attachment to the imperfection and a greater attachment to the perfection that is actually who they are?
I think that's a great question, and I think that goes back to the existential question we ask ourselves, right? What are we, this avatar that goes through life, this little flesh meat packet that we essentially have, and then my job is to show them all the different attributes they have. Where I say, how many people come to the office for this or this or this, or what you see may not necessarily be what you think it is. And I think once you kind of really break it down and show them why they may be overthinking or having the spotlight effect, that's the reason why they may feel a certain way, but in reality, that's really not what's going on. And then like a light bulb clicks through their head, and they realize that maybe I am overthinking this. And it's funny, my office says, you're coming in to say no to people. I mean, my patients are coming in to get a no, not for me to say, hey, we're going to do surgery tomorrow. Or, hey, let's go, tweak this thing. It's more so a therapy session in effect, right? Because I'm showing them you don't need to over think a lot of things. And I think in the age of social media, we compare so much, and especially, children at an early age, they get so much comparison. Now, I almost think beauty has become amorphous, where there's this social media phase where younger people look older and older people look younger, and there is no identity anymore. So I always say, let's highlight your identity, let's preserve it. And if we need to tweak anything, let's be thoughtful about it, because not only do we want to do something that's going to affect you in the short term, but remember, we're still going to go through life. So when you're 60, 70, 80, 90, you don't want to do something that can be detrimental. And all of a sudden you feel, oh my God, why did I do that when I was 20, 30, or 40? So walking through that with them, I take it very seriously. Even when I take on a patient to do surgery, you have multiple visits with me. It's not that we do a one and done. And we really go through it. And I always ask them to invite anyone else that may be involved in their thought process. What support system do they have? If they are seeking a mental health specialist, I always invoke their contributions and advice. So it's a very thoughtful and in-depth process during the consultation before we, partake in anything that may change you permanently.
I'm glad you brought up the comparative analysis, because when you said most people see themselves, 9 times a day or whatever it is, because of social media, it's not, I think, just that we see ourselves more, but we're comparing it to an unrealistic avatar. And, there's so many different mechanisms, to take away wrinkles and to make our wastes, and because I am on social media so much, I can pick up on reality. I was wondering, someone that's so well trained in the emotional and the physical aspects of being a reconstructive surgeon in its highest degree, sometimes I think the counterintuitive occurs, and it just takes time, meaning that I may be wrong, but we're in the same business. I help people find their essence, and that's what you do. And through that, it may be changing the meaning of your past. It may be giving you pragmatic tools to utilize time more efficiently, or to get out of your way in the future. But and it's, practical measure. It's like, what is your essence? And because of the ubiquity and size, scope, and scale that we have of connectivity, I believe that the counterintuitive is going to occur, that, as we are training ourselves right now, that look, this isn't real. This news is not real. These pictures are not real. All of a sudden, we start getting to the core of essence of, our participation in the perception is what is real, as Blaine has explained. And, purposefully, I study the Course in Miracles about I am and I am not. I am not a body, I am free, right? And there's so many aspects of that I see, a positive effect of being able to utilize this idea. I was wondering how you felt, because you see so many patients, if there is maybe some momentum towards, wait a second, what we resist persists. Maybe, all this fake stuff means that I should just love me and find my own essence.
Yeah, 100%. I always think of it in twofold. Number one is that before you become a plastic surgeon, sometimes people forget that you're a physician. One of the first things you do in medical school, you take a Hippocratic oath, which is do no harm, right? That is the fundamental essence of it. So I got to first take a pulse check myself before I walk into a room. Who am I? What essence do I contribute to this interaction, right? Am I either going to support this individual, or either I can go the other route and tear down this individual? And that's an active choice that I need to make. And of course, I go in and I understand the vulnerability that these individuals are coming in for, right? Whether they have a cancer on their face that needs to be resected, or they have after a resection, they have a hole on their face that they want to kind of put together, and they don't want those scars to be seen. So I first have to understand what my essence is, and I have to portray that and kind of inject that into that individual. I have to support them, and I have to support them not only spiritually, mentally, and then sometimes even physically. But I really take all that very, very seriously. And I think that exactly like you said, David, is that we have to, the stewards of helping other people find their essence. We got to be stalwart in that sense, and make sure that we do show them the essence that they have, that they are more than what they see in the mirror. Their personalities, their relationships, their love that they exhibit, and even their creative, whatever they may have that they represent to the world. So all those things is what I talk about more. I'd probably say 90%, again, like I said, 90% of what I do is to show you how beautiful you already are. And it's that 10% that, okay, let's chat about maybe some things that we can do depending on what we see.
I love the basis of your practice is in humility, in, of course, the ignorant humility of we don't know sometimes what we don't know. And it takes professionals like you that have been more interested than interesting to help us find and love ourselves. I know we were talking about learn to love what you do. I think you also revealed, which is my favorite quote I learned yesterday from Bob Parsons, the founder of GoDaddy. I think I'm going to change it. Even if we learn to love ourselves, it will tell us all our secrets and the superpowers that are inherent in our essence. You are a superhero to help us all find our superpowers of self and learn to loving ourselves. So you wouldn't think we'd find this in the automobile industry or in plastic surgery, but two anomalies that hopefully are a great peek into our future. Dr. Hardik, Doshi, there's no doubt why you're one of the top surgeons in the world. Thank you so much. Please join me more. More people need more of you, and we appreciate everything that you do and your integrity in doing it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Blaine. Appreciate your time, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Doshi.
Awesome. Amazing. We're so blessed to have such incredible guests every day. And not to let us down, here's another extraordinary guest. Joanne Harold is here, CMO and founder of Harold Growth Consulting. And, we're talking about love and learning to love. And, you know, my new favorite quote as you were coming on, I talk about is, we've all heard learning to love what you do means you don't work a day in your life. But I love learning to love what we do will tell us all its secrets. If we learn to love what we do, it will tell us all our secrets. And your book, I think, is aligned with these secrets. And, you know, no better title than Living on a Smile, 15 Ways to Live a Big Life and Lead with Love. You know, I want to start with those secrets. Joanne, welcome to Office Hours. As you have explored love in its fullest sense and living an unlimited, infinite journey, and you came up with pragmatically 16 different secrets. For you, I know in order to do the research and to have the experience to write this book, you must have come up with a ton of different secrets in your own life. And so I would love for you to share maybe a few of those secrets that have the greatest impact on you, and hopefully will have the same on others and inspire them to read your book, Living on a Smile.
Oh, thank you so much. So excited to be here. I appreciate it. And so, yeah, love is a big topic. And I think it's so important to lead with love and love what you do. And you will never work a day again in your life. And I think to answer your question, I've been working on this book, I think, since I was 7 years old. So it was really inside of me. And it was a way to celebrate mentors and friends and bosses and colleagues and family who helped me along the way. And so the book is a bit of a memoir, but then there's also, it's woven into lessons learned from others. Each chapter has an area workbook, if you will, so that the reader can also take a pause and figure out what it is for them that drives their passion, fuels their purpose, and makes life more fun with the people they love.
Amazing.
Yeah, making life more fun. I mean, I want to land on that piece. Yeah, life, you know, this is my experience. Life is not a struggle. Life actually is kind of it's a great place to play. Living a big life, you know, this is part of the subtitle of your book. 16 ways to live a big life and lead with love. What's important to you about living a big life? What's the implication of that?
I think a big life is, first off, being kind and taking those opportunities to be kind to others. And I think sometimes at work, it's it's hard charging. You've got to make your numbers, and you can really do all that and be really kind and purposeful and help others. So that's one way. It's being kind. Is also doing it with the people I love. And somebody challenged me on this a while ago. I've got a consulting business and clients, and they said, "But you don't love the people you work with." And I said, "I do. I love my clients." And, they're people that I've worked with for many years and have known. And so that's another way. It's to work and be around people you love, and then do things like travel and explore and go see new places, because like you said, Blaine, every day is a fun day, and it's a new day, and it's an opportunity to really, again, live a big life.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
in living, do you have something else, Blaine?
No, that's fine.
Oh, cool. I was going to say, in learning to live a big life, inherent in there are lessons. And I know, as you had stated, this is not only a testament to your experiences, but the mentorship that you have received, the friendship that you have received. And I'm in complete agreement with you. And I get in trouble as a business that I love everyone that I work with. I love Blaine, I love Cynthia, I love all of my employees. And it does create a conflict, especially in the business setting, to sometimes love some so much that you want something for them, just like a parent, you want something for your child more than they want it. And we take on an ignorant arrogance that we're more afraid for our employees than we are for ourselves. And there's so many inherent things, but within the context of understanding this love comes light and lessons. And we are limited by time. How do you maybe, or do you address this of how do we prioritize our love?
Yeah, I am very intentional and very purposeful. And I think time is, everybody has the same amount of time. It's a zero-sum game. And so I work very hard to manage my time. And I, back in the day, used Covey and the Covey principles as far as the big rocks and making sure that, family and friends were prioritized. Today, I use a tool called the Full Focus Planner, and it's a Michael Hyatt tool. And each year I lay out my goals and what I'm trying to achieve. And then weekly and daily go through and prioritize and, how am I tracking against what is important, what's purposeful, what's meaningful, and, how do I reach that goal of living a big life? And sometimes I take on big challenges and then at the end, write in a reward, and a reward could be a trip with friends or family, just to acknowledge that, something that might have been really hard or challenging.
Yeah, so the generating the outsized impact. There's a notion here, and I love that you said this. Everybody has the same time, the same amount of time. I actually disagree with that, and here's why. It has to do with the experience that we have of time. And if we think about time, and Dave, we're going to dive down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but one way to think about time is it's matter in motion. That's what time is. It's matter in motion. And kind of dropping into that notion of love. When I love something, I am so engrossed in it that I have all the time in the world. When I don't love something, I can't get out of this fast enough. It just takes forever. So the idea here for me, and I'm just going to check this with you, living a big life, having big impact on others. Is it your experience that you have all the time in the world to do that because you love life, or is it something other than that?
I love helping other people, and that gives me a lot of energy. And I've been doing this. This is kind of crazy, but this audit of activities during the day and what drives energy and then what depletes energy. And I'm trying really hard to your point, get rid of the things that take the energy away and do more of the things that I'm really passionate about. And what I'm learning is when, somebody calls, maybe somebody I've worked with before, or a student or a colleague, and I map out that time and work with them or help them or coach them or listen to them, my energy is off the charts. And so I have all day to do things like that. If it's an accounting spreadsheet or something that's, kind of boring, the energy level goes way off in the other direction. So I'm trying to figure out the balance and how to things that maybe don't drive as much energy. Is there another, can I outsource that or help, have somebody help do that so I have more time to do the things I love?
That's great.
Yeah, it's so amazing to me when I get in conversations about light, love, and lessons that it always somehow finds its way back. Maybe it's because it's my favorite topic, to time, in the relativity of time and the perception and participation and perception of time. But there is a paradigm shift when your basis is love, and it's a different philosophy where a lot of people, I think, are looking to get more time through loving something or learning to love something or finding the secrets in something or kind to their future self, once again, relative to time. But I do think that in the context of it, that we have and are all connected to the same amount of energy. And I think it helps people to realize that when we're looking at accounting and it's not worth our time in order to find the light, the love, and the lens in that accounting, because it would maybe take lifetimes to figure out how we love crunching numbers in an Excel sheet, that we're still connected to all this energy, but we're interfering with the omniscient, all-powerful source. And so we are limiting ourselves as resources. And you are a true businesswoman as well. You have been honored as, by the American Marketing Association. You've worked within, this isn't all woo-woo, love everything you do, right? You like Blaine and I, we work with the biggest companies in the world to help figure out when do we make those choices. And someone like you that have gone down the rabbit hole of love and tried to reconcile time within the context of learning light, love, and lessons, how can people decide, hey, this is interfering too much and I should go hire someone to go do this, someone that has such great pragmatic business knowledge? How do we make that decision, and how can we empower people to make the decision instead of to continually interfere with their power?
Yeah, I mean, one way is to map out what's taking energy and what gives you joy and satisfaction and love. At work, there's all kind of people who really love to do things like that. And so sometimes it's partnering with other people who are really good at, for me, maybe it's accounting or Excel, and having them help out, or giving somebody on the team who might be good that opportunity to shine and see if you can elevate them. Business, though, is, and I've worked in business my entire career. It really is about growth and creating value. And so, sometimes, so when I'm, loving something, really passionate about it, it is awesome. And, the business is growing, and most companies they want their people to, play in their strengths and do what they're good at, and they wouldn't really want to bog me down with doing a lot of accounting or things like that. So I think there's opportunities. If there's something, you don't like, it's who can help you, who's better at that, how can you elevate somebody else, and for you personally, do things that are within your wheelhouse.
It's so funny, Joanne, because what is so interesting is this idea of being in the flow and clearing the interference between us and the flow. And you keep going back to one thing, which is helping other people. And I can tell inherent in your nature is to be of service and of value. And every time you feel like you're of service value, you are what you feel to be re-energized, but you're actually just clearing all the ego-based consciousness of separateness in your life. And I can see you as a steward and a leader in that respect with your growth consulting to help people clear their interference. And we just want to commend you as well. I know you've been honored by so many, but we honor you for coming on here with Office Hours, and certainly continue to do what you do. Keep on spreading the joy, the light, the love, and the lessons. If you are looking and searching for your love, your joy, you can live on a smile. Read the book, Living on a Smile. Pragmatically, there's 16 ways to live a big life and lead with love. We couldn't agree with you more. Coming back and join us, Joanne. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much. What an honor.
Thank you, Joanne.
Have a great day.
You as well.
She's amazing. All right, Blaine, we are going to go to takeaways of the day.
Yeah.
There's three amazing leaders here in building communities. So what would take away?
Single word, love. Not, I love you, but loving. I mean, you started off, today with, conversations you had with Bob Parsons. I'm reminded, my dad, in one of his careers, my dad was a serial entrepreneur, but he loved what he was doing. And I remember very distinctly when I was a young boy, one of his things that he did that he loved to do was butcher. He had a butchery as kind of a side gig to one of the main occupations that he was doing. But I would watch him cut a piece of meat, and he wouldn't nick the joint bone coming through a shoulder. I mean, it was. So the idea of when you're doing what you love will reveal all of its secrets. So the idea of mastery comes into play here. And each of our guests today, whether they were doing reconstructive surgery, whether they were working in the automotive industry, transforming and disrupting that, or from the idea of taking love literally and saying, I can bring joy to life, I can bring joy to work. And it all comes down to really enmeshing myself and immersing myself in it. And all of the secrets are revealed. So, with Joanne here talking about 16 ways to live a big life and live with love. Lead with love. You lead with love. And it permeates everything. And this is not about just feeling good. It really is about entering into the spirit of whatever it is that I'm doing. And if I'm in the spirit of it, I can't not be connected. And that's where time stops and love appears.
And for me, obviously related and relative to that idea of the secrets that are revealed is the reconciliation of learning and love. And that we're so blessed. And, the easiest analogy for me is about how it's so beautiful and wonderful that we all love different things in different people, and we have to rejoice in that. I'm so blessed that certain people love me and certain people don't. Inherently, certain people are attracted or resonate with me and certain people don't, because that just means that we have people revealing secrets of all types of things, automobiles and accounting and, systems integrations and facility management, and, different types of movies are successful because people resonate with it. They love different things. And as you know, if we learn to love, or we love a certain thing, it's going to reveal its secrets. And if we all love the same stuff, we wouldn't know many secrets. And we wouldn't be able to share those and create, instead of a zero-sum world, this value-add world where things are appreciated, acknowledged, and expand. They compound on themselves, which creates exponentiality. And, of course, bringing your and my dear friend of time, it also accelerates them. So we can appreciate and acknowledge and give, even witness even more, as we all love different things and reveal different secrets. Well, I certainly love you, even if everyone doesn't love you. I don't understand how that's possible, but I love you because I learn from you every single day, and others should as well that resonate with you. The incredible Blaine Bartlett, BlaineBartlett.com. Thursdays are always Thankful Thursdays, and it starts out by thanking you for everything that you do for me and our community. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, you too, brother. You have a great time at Super Bowl. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for waking up, everyone. David at dmeltzer.com. You find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything you do, and the secrets will be revealed. I have an old saying that I love, is I saw my mentor, Lee Steinberg, who inspired me with this: to be more interested than interesting, to be kind to your future self, do good deeds, and secrets will be revealed. David at dmeltzer.com. If you need anything, we will be doing a meetup here in Arizona on Friday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, right there in front of Radio Row. Check it out. Email me if you want the exact address. 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Books, guides, exercises will be free. Answering questions, networking. David@dmeltzer.com. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.